I suspected my wife was planning a divorce, so I moved my assets. 2 weeks later, she filed, then backtracked when her plan backfired. Hello everyone, before we start today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thank you very much. Now, let's begin the video. Hello people. I've been skimming through the posts here for a while, believing I'd never have my own tale to tell. However, life has a way of shocking you, and I've been lugging this about for months. I need to let it out. Let me be clear, I've never been the sort to jump to conclusions or assume the worst. My wife, let's call her M, and I have been together for 6 years and married for 4. Things were solid, or so I thought. We experienced the typical ups and downs, but nothing that made me think, oh, there's a problem here. In reality, throughout the majority of our relationship, we were that couple, completely committed colleagues. We laughed at stupid inside jokes, argued for hours about which movie to watch, and had a cadence that just worked. She'd organize elaborate date nights, and I'd treat her to her favorite takeout after a long day. It felt effortless. As if we had figured out the whole love thing. That is why what occurred next struck me like a ton of bricks. The shift around 6 months ago, things began to alter. At first, it was minor details. Things you'd likely miss if you weren't paying attention. She began carrying her phone everywhere, even when she was only going to the kitchen or folding clothes. Before this, her phone would sit on the coffee table for hours, and she didn't mind who picked it up. One day I made this joke. "What, are you running some secret spy ring now?" She chuckled and added, "No, work's been emailing me a lot." Okay, fine. But, a few days later, she created a password. That one caught me off surprise because she had never used it before. When I casually inquired why, she responded something vague about security and hackers. I didn't press it since I didn't want to appear paranoid, but it simply felt off. And it did not end there. She began taking calls outside the room, which she had never done before. It wasn't subtle either. Her phone would ring, and she'd say, "Oh, let me just grab this real quick," before disappearing into the bedroom or outside on the porch. If I inquired who it was, she would just say, "Just a friend from work." Then I noticed a new habit. Keeping her phone face down on the table. I had no idea that was a thing until I reached over to give her something and she hastily moved her phone out of the way. It was one of those blink and you miss it moments, yet it stayed with me. Growing distance. However, it wasn't all about the phone. She started to feel distant. Conversations that used to flow easily now felt like pulling teeth. If I brought up future plans, such as where should we go for our anniversary? Or, do you think we should start saving for a new car? She'd simply nod and say, "Yeah, we'll see," before shifting the subject. It all came together for me on a random Wednesday. She informed me that she was seeing a buddy for coffee after work. It didn't sound strange, she does that occasionally. I happened to be running errands in the same area, so I figured, why not surprise her? It will be cute. When I arrived, however, she was not with her friend. She stood outside the cafe, walking back and forth, her phone placed against her ear. I remained in my car because something about the way she spoke seemed serious. I didn't intend to eavesdrop, but I overheard phrases like, "It's almost ready," and "starting fresh soon." My stomach sank. I couldn't figure out what she was saying, but it didn't sound like job or friend conflict. It sounded grander, like something she had planned. When she returned home, I asked her how her coffee date went, attempting to maintain a casual tone. She told me a complete narrative about her pal complaining about her boyfriend. It was such an unexpected comment that I just gazed at her for a second. "What do you mean?" I inquired. She shrugged. "I just think we should have everything in one place. You know, like all our account info, passwords, documents, that kind of thing, just in case of emergency." I wasn't sure what to say. This was something we'd never discussed before, and the timing seemed strange given everything else I'd noticed. "What kind of emergencies?" I inquired, attempting to keep my tone casual. She shrugged again. "It's just smart, isn't it? What if something happens to one of us? Or what if we need to make a big financial decision quickly?" Her argument made sense on the surface, but something about the way she expressed it made me nervous. It was too rehearsed and polished, as if she had been waiting for the appropriate time to bring it up. I nodded and murmured something like, "Yeah, I guess that's a good idea," but within, alarms were ringing. Why now? Why are we suddenly concerned about arranging our finances when we've always kept them separate and loose? That night, my mind kept reliving her words, attempting to figure out what it meant. Was this just typical adult behavior, and was I reading too much into it? But then I remembered the phone calls, the talk I overheard in the cafe, and how distant she'd been recently. It all began to mount up, and I did not like the image it was painting. Until then, I had done nothing about it. A few days later, she mentioned it again. We were in the kitchen. I was making a sandwich, and she was looking through her phone, when she remarked, "Have you thought more about organizing the bank stuff? Like, do you know where all the account details are?" I lowered the knife and turned to face her. "Okay, what's going on?" I inquired, attempting to keep my tone light but firm. "You've been bringing up the finances a lot lately. Is there something we need to talk about?" She finally looked up from her phone, astonished that I had pressed her on it. "No, nothing's wrong," she responded hastily, making me giggle. "I just think it's important, that's all. You know, for emergencies." "Emergencies? Like what?" She shrugged, her expression unreadable. "I don't know. Just life stuff. It's not a big deal. I promise, I just think it's something we should get on top of." Her response seemed ambiguous. Too vague. I nodded and let it go, but the way she avoided providing a direct answer made me even more suspicious. It didn't seem like a casual suggestion anymore. It felt like she was concealing something, but I had no idea what it was. So, the next day, while she was at work, I decided to look into our finances. I opened our joint account online and discovered something unexpected. Over the last month, a few tiny moves had taken place. Nothing large, but small quantities that did not appear to have a clear purpose. They were not designated for bills, groceries, or anything similar. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but it appeared that she had been withdrawing money from the account for some reason, which I couldn't figure out. I considered addressing her, but something told me to wait. If I was wrong, I'd look ridiculous. And if I was correct, I had to be careful. It was eating at me, so I contacted someone I trusted, an old college friend who also happens to be a lawyer. I told him what I'd discovered while trying not to sound like a conspiracy theorist. "Look," he remarked after I'd explained everything. "I'm not saying something is absolutely going on, but you're not insane for wanting to be ready. If you're concerned about protecting your assets, now is the moment to do so. Better safe than sorry." He walked me through what I could do, simple procedures to ensure my finances were protected if something happened. I'll admit that taking such drastic action felt out of the ordinary. It felt like I was preparing for something dreadful even though I wasn't sure what was wrong. But the more I considered it, the more it made sense. If she was really up to something, and I was beginning to suspect she was, I needed to defend myself. It was not an easy decision to make, however. This wasn't just about money or assets. It was about the life we had created together. I kept repeating images in my head, our wedding day, the late-night conversations about our dreams, and the weird little jokes we shared. How did we arrive here? Is this what our marriage had come to? The prospect of taking these measures felt like conceding defeat, as if I was officially abandoning the trust we previously shared. That evening, while she was out, I sat at my desk and took out my laptop. My hands shook as I opened the computer and began browsing through everything: bank accounts, investment accounts, and the property deed. Each paper I studied felt like a betrayal, but a persistent voice in my head reminded me that this was about survival, not sabotage. I didn't mean to hurt her. I couldn't get rid of the idea that if I didn't act now, I'd regret it later. I compiled a list of everything I could transfer and how to do it without raising suspicion. As I typed, I felt a crushing weight settle against my chest. I had entirely trusted her for years, and now here I was, playing defense against the person I thought would always have my back. Then I called my mother and explained why I needed her help, but not in detail. "I need you to hold on to some things for me for a while. It's nothing bad, just something I need to do to protect myself, just in case." She was silent for a minute, likely trying to figure out what I wasn't saying. "Are you okay?" Her voice was filled with anxiety. "Yeah," I lied. "It's just a precaution. Nothing to worry about." She didn't press me, but I could hear the pause in her voice when she responded. "Of course, sweetheart. Whatever you need." I hung up the phone with an odd mix of relief and shame. I despised engaging her in this mess, but knowing she had my back provided some steadiness in an otherwise chaotic environment. By the time Em arrived home, I had already begun the process. I moved the majority of my assets, our cash, investments, and even the house, to my mother's name. I kept enough in our joint account to keep up appearances, but the rest was locked down. She didn't notice anything. She walked in, kissed my cheek, and asked if I wanted to watch a movie. I appeared okay, but inside I was a wreck. Part of me felt awful, as if I had betrayed her trust. But another part of me felt relieved, as if I was finally gaining control of a situation that had spiraled out of my control. Over the next 3 days, I tried to maintain a normal routine. I didn't want to let her know that anything had changed. She appeared satisfied, even unusually cheery at times. However, rather than putting me at ease, it increased my suspicion. If she was plotting something, she did an excellent job of concealing it. What stood out, however, was that she never brought up the finances again, not even after I questioned her the last time. It was as if the subject had evaporated from her memory. At first, I believed I had overreacted, and she dismissed the subject since it wasn't relevant. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized she was avoiding it. Almost as if she was afraid to bring it up again after I pressed her. I noticed her staring at me a few times, as if she was assessing my mood or contemplating whether to say something. Every time I noticed, she'd quickly return her attention to whatever she was doing, her phone, the TV, a book. It was slight, but it was present. It felt like she was waiting for me to bring it up, as if she didn't want to push the issue again. The silence only made me feel more anxious. It wasn't like her to drop anything she considered essential, and the way she avoided it suddenly appeared deliberate. If she was testing the waters, she was not going in. If she was waiting for something, I was not about to give her the go-ahead. Whatever her next move was, I knew I had to be one step ahead. Something was coming, but I didn't know when or how. All I could do was prepare. That night, I made certain that everything was solid. I glanced over the paperwork again, double-checking every aspect of my mother's asset transfers. The house, the savings, the investments, everything was now legally in her name, sealed in an uncontested trust. I even called her to confirm that she had all of the necessary papers. 2 weeks had passed, and everything appeared normal, frankly. She was acting more loving, even starting to talk about unrelated topics like jobs or what we should eat for the evening. It threw me off because she'd been aloof for months, avoiding anything more than superficial conversations. Part of me began to question whether I had been overreacting all along. Maybe the strange conduct was merely stress or something I didn't comprehend. But then, one random Friday night, she sat me down on the couch, turned off the television, and said, "We need to talk." My stomach fell quickly. I knew what she was going to say before she did. "I think we should get a divorce," she replied, her voice so calm it seemed prepared. It wasn't furious or emotional, it was simply frigid, as if she had told me we had run out of milk. I stared at her, unsure how to respond as she explained her argument. She mentioned needing space, wanting to figure herself out, and feeling like she'd lost her identity in the marriage, standard breakup phrases that didn't really explain anything. But then she said something that struck a different tone. "You know, I've made a lot of sacrifices for you over the years, and I don't think you really appreciate them. I deserve more." That last part stung. It wasn't just that she wanted out, it was that she framed it as if I owed her something, that everything was my fault, and she was simply claiming what was properly hers. As I sat there, trying to understand what she was saying, a new question arose. Why now? Then she said something that made everything start to make sense. "A friend of mine has been helping me see things more clearly," she continued, not looking at me. "A friend." I remained still, letting her speak, but my mind was racing. Who was this friend? Why were they so involved in my marriage? The way she stated it was not casual. It seemed like someone had been hyping her up, convincing her that leaving me wasn't simply a choice, but a strategy she needed to implement. And the more she talked about how she deserved more because of her sacrifices, the more I became skeptical. Sacrifices? What kind of sacrifice? She was happy with me, or so she said. I worked hard to offer her the life she desired, and it wasn't just about money. When she asked to move closer to her job, I agreed, even though it meant a lengthier commute for me. When she wanted to attend that pricey yoga retreat last year, I made sure we budgeted for it, even foregoing a vacation I was looking forward to so she could go. I backed her when she changed careers twice, telling her it was fine to take the risk because I wanted her happy. I believed being a decent husband meant putting her first whenever possible. And it wasn't as if I was an unresponsive, distant partner. I showed up. I remembered birthdays and random things she had mentioned loving. When she mentioned feeling caught in a rut, I suggested date nights. I listened to her complain about her job, friends, and family. I didn't always get it right, but I did try. That's why her "I deserve more" line hurt so much. I didn't even consider buying it. She was not upset due to anything I did or did not do. She was upset because something had changed in her. Perhaps it was the acquaintance she kept bringing up, or something else. But the lady sitting in front of me was not the woman I married, and I was not going to let her rewrite our marriage tale to fit her new narrative. I didn't press her at the moment. Instead, I nodded and said something innocuous, such as, "If that's how you feel, I guess we should figure out the next steps." She seemed startled that I wasn't arguing or begging her to stay, but I didn't mind. My attention had already changed. I needed to know who or what was causing her sudden, planned shift in conduct. She didn't just wake up one day and decide she wanted out. This was something greater, and I wasn't going to let it surprise me any more than it had already. After that chat, she went into her own apartment, and I received the divorce papers on Monday. Let me tell you, they didn't only want to stop the relationship. They were planning to take everything, half the house, my savings, my assets, and the car. She wanted it all. Plus, some ambiguous spousal support clauses that made little sense given her high salary. It seemed as if she was expecting me to give her all I had worked for. At first, I assumed she was just being vengeful, but the way she articulated her demands, so specific and aggressive, reassured me that she had someone guiding her through this. So I started digging. I couldn't just ask her who she'd been talking to, so I had to be clever. I began with her social media. She hadn't blocked me, and even though she didn't post frequently, I searched through her tagged photographs and comments looking for someone new. That's when I discovered the pattern. Jake repeatedly liked and commented on her posts. Nothing obscene, but enough to make me pause. I clicked on his profile, which was public. At first glance, he didn't appear to be much more than a 30-year-old marketing professional. But as I scrolled down, I spotted something unusual. He posted a photo at the same cafe I'd seen her at weeks before. On the same day I overheard her discussing starting afresh. My gut churned as I continued scrolling. More subtle signals were a comment on one of her pictures that read, "You've got this," as well as a selfie he'd taken from what appeared to be her new residence. None of it was substantial evidence, but it was enough to raise my suspicion. I wasn't sure what to do with this information, but I knew I couldn't just sit there and wait for solutions to come my way. Her statement of a friend who helped her get through things remained with me, and I wanted to know who it was. I decided to contact one of our mutual acquaintances, Lisa. She and my wife had been friends for years, so she knew what was going on. I kept the conversation light at first, asking if she'd lately spoken with my wife or if anything seemed strange. Lisa reacted swiftly, saying she had no idea about the friend or any suggestions. I asked a few more probing questions, but she cut the conversation off defensively, claiming she couldn't help me. The entire situation felt rushed, as if she was trying to avoid becoming engaged. Not willing to give up, I called another buddy, Emily. I followed the same pattern, stating that I was simply trying to make sense of things. She was apprehensive at first, responding vaguely to my questions. When I pressed her more, she quickly ended the call, leaving me even more skeptical than before. I sat there, frustrated, trying to figure out my next move. Then, to my astonishment, Emily called back. She told me she needed to make sure what she said didn't come back to her. I assured it wouldn't, and after a long pause, she revealed what she knew. Apparently, my wife had been spending a lot of time with someone named Jake, whom she had met at work. Emily claimed she didn't know much else, but from what she'd heard, Jake was very active in the divorce advice my wife was receiving. Hearing that name felt like a puzzle piece fitting into place. It was evident that this was more than just her need for space or to find herself. Someone else was in the picture, directing her decisions, and I was eager to discover why. I chose to confront it in my own manner. That Saturday, I headed to her apartment building and parked a block away, trying to confirm what I already suspected. A few hours later, she and Jake stepped out of the building. They did not hold hands or anything, but the way they walked together, close, leaning in to talk, was plenty. They got into his car and drove away, leaving me sitting there, staring at the spot where they had been. I did not follow them. I did not need to. At that point, it was evident she hadn't simply stopped loving me. She'd been preparing to go with someone else, and now everything made sense. The unexpected distancing, the money questions, the forceful demands, and the divorce papers. She wasn't simply abandoning me, she was leaving me with nothing, and she was accompanied by someone at all times. I went home that night, my head racing with everything I'd learned. The betrayal burned, but what hurt the most was how premeditated everything was. She was using the divorce as a stepping stone to whatever life she was creating with Jake. But she had no idea what I had planned for her. The first mediation session felt strained from the time we stepped in. Her lawyer arrived with a binder so thick that it appeared they were bringing a case against a Fortune 500 firm. He began listing her demands as if they were entirely reasonable: half the house, the money, my assets, the car, and even some gibberish about spousal support. I remained silent, seeming to listen, but I was waiting for my attorney to make his move. When it was finally our turn, he handed a stack of paperwork across the table and said, "Before we proceed, I think it's important for everyone to review these. Her lawyer took the papers and skimmed through them. His confident posture changed fast as he flipped through the pages, his brow furrowing harder with each one. "What is this?" he inquired, gazing at my lawyer. "These documents show the transfer of all major assets into a trust under my client's mother's name," my lawyer said calmly. "The transfers were completed several weeks before the divorce filing, and the trust is fully legal and irrevocable." The room became utterly silent. Her lawyer looked at her, confused and frustrated. "You didn't mention this," he stated flatly. She snatched the papers from his hands and flipped through them, her face flushing. "This can't be real," she said, staring at the notarized signatures and dates. Then she turned to me, her countenance changing from incredulity to rage. "You planned this?" she muttered, gazing at me as if I'd committed a heinous crime. "You knew I was going to file, and you set this up to screw me over." I did not respond. I just sat there and let her connect the dots on her own. Her lawyer, apparently agitated, requested my counsel to elaborate. So he did, slowly, deliberately, and with every piece of evidence necessary to make the transfers irrefutable. The dates aligned exactly, indicating that I had transferred everything well before she filed. The signatures were duly notarized, and the confidence was solid. There was nothing they could do to challenge it. She was furious. "You're unbelievable," she said, leaning forward in her chair. "I can't believe you'd do something like this to me." I still did not say anything. What was there to say? This was not about me doing anything to her. This was to defend myself because she had made it apparent she was not going quietly. The conference finished with her lawyer saying something about needing to rethink their strategy, but everyone in the room knew they had no further moves to make. When we walked out of the building, she took me aside in the hallway, her expression a mix of rage and desperation. "This isn't over," she added, her tone low. "You're going to regret this." I just looked at her and said, "I already regret trusting you. That's the only regret I have." Things escalated faster than I had anticipated following the mediation session. She went into complete meltdown mode almost instantly. It began with the calls, endless calls. At first, she appeared calm, even remorseful, leaving voicemails that began, "I think we just need to talk," or "I know this got messy, but we can fix it." When I did not answer, the tone changed. By the second day, her messages alternated between sobbing and screaming. One voicemail would be her lamenting about making a mistake and not wanting to lose what we had created together. Then she'd launch into a furious tirade accusing me of being stingy and cruel, blaming me for everything that was wrong in her life. I ignored it all. My lawyer told me not to engage, and I honestly did not want to. I was finished playing her games, but she was not. When the calls and texts did not work, she began telling stories. Mutual friends informed me that she had been telling people that the divorce was a hoax, and that it was all part of a larger farce. A prank? I mean, who would believe that? The flaws in her story quickly became apparent. Friends began to ask questions like, if it was a prank, why did you file actual legal paperwork? Or, why hire a lawyer and make such specific demands if it wasn't serious? When others didn't instantly accept the hoax justification, she doubled down. She said it was not a joke, but rather a test of our relationship's strength. She began casting herself as the victim, claiming that my reaction had hurt and betrayed her, that I had gone too far and broken our marriage's trust. At first, some individuals seemed to believe her stories. I'd get strange emails or comments from acquaintances like, "Wow, I didn't realize things were so rough for her." Even her brother lashed out, saying, "You should have just talked it out instead of being so drastic." It was annoying, but I knew the truth would eventually come out. And it did, due to a common buddy. Let us call him Matt. Matt and I were not particularly close, but we had always been nice. A few weeks after the mediation, he messaged me unexpectedly, stating he had something I needed to see. When we met, he brought out his phone and showed me a series of text messages between her and Jake. I was confused at first. "How did you even get these?" I inquired, scanning through the messages. Matt revealed that he and Jake shared a mutual buddy, who had heard their talks. Apparently, this common acquaintance had grown concerned about the way things were going, especially when Jake began gloating about how he was assisting her in securing her future. It didn't take long for that common buddy to figure out what securing her future really meant, trying to bleed me dry. Feeling awful about remaining silent, the buddy grabbed screenshots of the texts and sent them to Matt, believing he had a better relationship with me and could warn me. "This guy's been playing both sides," Matt replied, shaking his head. "He's been hyping her up to take you for everything while making her believe he'd be there for her afterward." Matt gave me the texts and said, "I thought you should know. You don't deserve this, man." The texts were terrible. She wasn't just ranting to Jake about the divorce. She was actively planning her future steps with him, and he was guiding her through them. A message she left read, "Once the settlement's done, we'll have everything we need. I just need him to agree to the terms." Jake responded, "Don't back down. Make him feel guilty if you have to. He owes you. We'll start fresh once you've got the money." I sat there, staring at Matt's phone and trying to understand what I was reading. This was neither a misunderstanding or an emotional response to a failed marriage. This was a cold, deliberate manipulation. I thanked Matt and he left, but my thoughts were racing. Everything made sense now: her abrupt isolation, her fixation with our finances, and her harsh demands throughout the divorce. It was all part of a plan, one she had been developing with Jake behind the scenes. The text soon circulated among our mutual friends. Matt shared them with a few friends, and they quickly spread. Her story suddenly ceased to be credible. People who had previously been indifferent or even supportive of her began to distance themselves, and the change was nearly immediate. People who had previously defended her or remained neutral suddenly recognized her for who she truly was. Even her closest allies started to distance themselves. By the time the divorce was finalized, she had only her personal things. Her lawyer quietly dismissed her complaint after recognizing there was no legal basis to stand on. All of those bold requests had crumbled under the weight of the documents I had produced, and the trust I had established with my mother was unbreakable. Jake seemed to vanish as soon as things began to unravel. I wouldn't be surprised if he used her as much as she did me. From what I could tell, he'd been feeding her fantasies of independence and a new beginning, but the moment it became evident she wasn't going away with anything, he was gone. Without Jake in her corner, her confidence plummeted. The calls and texts continued, but they became increasingly desperate. She was not accusing me anymore. She begged. "Can we just talk, please? I'll do anything to fix this." One voicemail stated. A different opinion. "You don't have to forgive me, but can't we just settle this and move on? I'll drop everything if you just talk to me." I did not respond. I could not. It was too late to reverse the harm. Even her family began to drift away. Her brother contacted me at one time, apologizing for some of the things he had said before when he believed her side of the story. "I didn't know what she was doing to you," he said. "I'm sorry I ever took her word for it." As for me, I received the house, my savings, and something I hadn't experienced in a long time: peace of mind. My mother, as usual, was my rock. She arrived with buckets of paint and a list of suggestions to help me reclaim the area as mine. Now, life feels like it's mine again. No more second-guessing every small interaction. No longer feeling betrayed. Just peace. She is a chapter from my history that I no longer read. And the remainder of the story is entirely up to me to write. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you. Am I the asshole for being upset that my wife frequently mentions Trump in our family prayers, even during grace before meals and bedtime prayers? Sounds a bit weird, but let me explain. I, 32, am a politically neutral guy. My wife, 25, is not. She is pretty hardcore Make America Great Again, and has been since 2016 or whenever the last election was. She is pretty vocal on Facebook about her views and sometimes says some scary things. One time she asked my coworker to his face if he was documented. We literally grew up together in the Midwest, laughing out loud. Anyway, I usually let it slide because it's not hurting me. Like I said, I'm politically neutral. Last month though, she was getting my son, 5, to bed one night, and after reading to him she did a prayer before bed. Normal stuff like, "Please pray for mommy, daddy, grandpa, and Trump." When I heard her say that, I was confused why she was praying for just a guy who isn't in our family. I asked her about it really politely and she went off on me about how he is persecuted and needs prayers to win the election and fend off the enemy and whatever. Again, I let it go because I normally wouldn't care. But now she seems like she is doing this to spite me. Even during the blessing before a meal she adds, "And bless Trump, amen," really fast before I can argue. Last night was the worst one though. My dad, 77, had a small stroke and went to the hospital overnight. After I told her and my son, I did a small prayer for him. Of course, before I said amen, my wife added, "And bless Trump." Well, this time I got mad. I told her she should keep him out of our family prayers and that this is our personal connection with God she is messing with by bringing in some weird old politician. Suffice it to say, she hasn't talked to me since. Am I really in the wrong here? Maybe it's not that big of a deal, but I feel like it's gone too far. Am I the asshole? Top comments. Comment 1. Damn. So you married a general asshole and now you're upset she's being an asshole to you specifically. You're not the asshole for asking your wife to not be petty when your father is in the hospital and you're feeling scared. But also, you chose the bed you're lying in. You're just starting to realize politics impacts all eventually. Comment 2. I let it slide because it's not hurting me. I can tell you that this political disconnect would be a deal breaker for me. And she's about to create another Make America Great Again supporter right under your nose. And you're okay with that? Forget that. Comment 3. Honestly, your wife openly being racist by asking a coworker if he's documented and you not putting your foot down right there does not sound like you're politically neutral. You allowed that behavior and just let it slide. That's not good, mate. You're not the asshole for being upset with your wife bringing Trump into your prayer over family, what the F, but you need to have a long talk with her about her general behavior and her comments, aside from just this latest issue. Comment 4. You're literally how the Nazis happened. It doesn't affect me, just everyone else, so I'm cool with it. Your wife is either a gullible moron who went down the wrong internet rabbit hole or is a fascist. I know people like to throw that word around a lot, but that's because they don't know what it means. But what we're seeing in the States and in the world in general is a scary march towards authoritarianism that is anathema to the free world. I'd take my kid and run, but hey, it doesn't affect you, right? Like, she was racist to your boyhood friend's face. Update. So I mentioned in my previous post that my dad suffered from a small stroke the night before. Well, the small stroke was just the tip of the iceberg. Today my dad suffered a major stroke in the hospital and passed away last night. My whole family is devastated, including my wife. When I said a prayer over him, she did not say anything about Trump and was very respectful. After we got home from the hospital, I messed up. We were getting ready for bed and I thanked her. She asked for what, and I said for not bringing up Trump during the prayer for my dad. She immediately got mad at me about why I thought she was such a terrible person who would do something like that. I said she literally did it when we first found out he had a small stroke, and she said to me that it was before she knew it was that serious. I said that it was my dad, and of course it was serious to me. Then I really messed up and showed her the post I made yesterday to try to get her to understand. She read through all the comments and got even more mad at everything, of course. Long story short, she drove off to her friend's house and left me having to deal with my son and without a car. Later, she made this huge Facebook post about me and how I'm a terrible person. She said I made her drop out of college when I met her as a freshman, in college, and forced her to start a family with me. We met when we were 18 or older and the kid was her idea, but whatever. I assume she got this idea from some of the comments about the age difference between us, so thanks. And then of course she says that I'm against her and her beliefs and all the usual about Trump. I may update if something else happens, but whatever. Thanks to some of you for actually trying to help. I could ignore calling me a troll, but apparently I'm a bad person for being politically neutral and basically a Nazi. I am not choosing a side on purpose to have less conflict because if you can't tell, both sides are what caused the conflict. My dad died and my wife drove off and won't talk to me, but who cares because apparently I'm a troll/Nazi/groomer or whatever. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I'm not going to address the political donkey or the elephant in the room. What I'm going to comment on is your wife's total lack of compassion and grace. Even if she had been justified in her anger and hurt, it was totally out of bounds to put you through that the night your father died. That is a hard issue way beyond politics. Comment 2. Sorry about your dad. Beyond your wife's troubling views about a guy who said he wants to be a dictator, her leaving you alone right after your father died is particularly troubling. Not the asshole. Comment 3. So your dad died and the next day she treats you like shit over Trump. And left you stuck with a kid and no car. You are not the asshole, but her asshole issues have more issues than a newspaper. Comment 4. My dude, both sides are not the same. Your wife is a victim of a toxic cult of personality, and you and your family are victims as well. It's not healthy to worship an individual like she does. And inferring from your previous post, as Christians you should be very wary of such a person. Liberals, progressives, and regular old Democrats aren't even the same thing, but none of them really adhere to the same level of cult worship as Republicans do for Donald Trump. It's just not something you really see. I'm sorry that your wife has been programmed. Consider her dead, she's not the same. I lost my own father this way. Everything is political. Even as evidence crushes the conspiracies he's sold, he's still 100% indoctrinated into the cult. He's gone. Your wife is gone. Now to the next story, story 2. My husband admitted to cheating with his best friend. I'm not mad, and I don't know why. What should I do? I, 35, have been married to my husband for a bit under 10 years now. We have no children. Yesterday night, after dinner, my husband, Jay, broke down and admitted he's been sleeping with his childhood best friend, Pete, for quite a while now, longer than I want to say. It was the first time I have seen him cry in more than 2 years over something serious. Jay is the kind that cries over dogs dying in shows but is stony silent at tragedy. However, I'm not mad. I'm not even sure I care. I do love my husband more than anything in the world and I don't want to leave him. I can't move on, I can't stay like this and I don't want to. But Jay has said he won't stop seeing Pete, no matter what I choose. He's sorry for doing this to me and he has said he loves me, and I'm his wife and heart, but Pete means the same to him. Basically he can't choose. He loves us both. It falls to me to choose and I don't know what to do. Honestly, the bit that hurts the most is the fact that Pete is a good friend of mine, but he couldn't face me himself and instead let Jay break down in front of me. Sorry this turned into a rant, any advice would help. If anyone's gone through something similar. TLDR, husband cheated with a friend, wants me to choose between staying with him and him continuing to see his affair partner and divorce. I can't choose without advice. I want to stay with him. I honestly don't feel anything about this affair honestly. Edit. It's come up a bit so. My husband has been openly bisexual since before I even met him. Peter is bi or pan. He's dated guys and girls, and others, in the past. No one in the last 3 years to my knowledge. I'm straight. Edit 2. Since apparently I have no self-esteem, I guess I couldn't possibly have 4 degrees, a PhD, make roughly $120K a year, be the main provider for the household, run my own business and go to the gym twice a week. I know I look good, I actually have a rather large ego about myself. This honestly has nothing to do with self-esteem. I don't know where it reads that, I'm a poor little girl who got in over her head by a big strong man, but I can bench press Jay and wait. I know what I'm worth and I know I want Jay so. Relevant comments. Comment 1, leave OP, I don't know if I should though. We're happy, we can still be happy. Throwing that away seems, I don't know. Comment 2, so you don't mind sharing your husband. How many nights a week will you get to be with him? Or will his friend be moving in with you? OP, I don't know. He's managed to be with Pete enough in the time we currently have, I don't know how it would change if I stayed. Comment 3. What I don't understand is, why don't you want better for yourself? He told you he doesn't care if you stay or leave. But Pete? He stays, I think, because he cares about his relationship with Pete. How do you stay with someone who doesn't care if you stay? He doesn't want to fight for this relationship. You yourself said you don't care that he cheated. You are financially independent, what's keeping you from just ending it and moving on? You say you love him, but if you did, wouldn't you care that he's cheated for years with a person you considered a friend? Wouldn't you care that he's chosen his relationship with Pete as the one he can't let go of? OP, must be how I wrote the post, sorry. Jay does care, he just can't choose and doesn't want to force me to choose. He's staying at a friend's house, not Pete's. I double-checked, he's staying with a married couple of lesbian friend we have, so he's not cheating with them, right now, so I have the house and quote, as long as I need to do anything. Is it bad that I don't really care that he cheated? I have some heartache of the lies and who it was with, not that it was a man, but Pete, but the actual cheating itself doesn't bother me too much and I honestly think I could just move on, ignore it or somehow work with it. Update. After reading all your advice I chose to ask for space, which he, J36M, freely gave. He was staying at a friend's house when I called, I couldn't face him yet, and asked. This helped to confirm what I already knew, he was indeed staying with our mutual friends. A married lesbian, both 36F couple, so no, he didn't run to Pete, 36M as some of you thought. I was leaning towards separation after reading your advice. Well, a few days after I requested space, I decided to ask for separation officially. To cut a long ice cream and tear-filled 3 weeks short, I caved and called him. I did not beg for him back or anything like that. I asked him out for a walk and we had a long talk. It was a fair while ago so I can't word for word type what was said, but it boiled down to this. 1. I still love him no matter what. 2. He still loves me no matter what. 3. He loves Pete no matter what. 4. He does not value either of us above the other. When he spoke about me leaving but him not leaving Pete, he was giving me an out more than anything else. Jay would be destroyed if I chose to leave, but he didn't want me to stay if I truly didn't want to, which is why he didn't beg for me to stay. After this talk, we stayed separate for a few more days. About 7 weeks ago, Jay moved back home and Pete came over for dinner. That talk was longer, harder and contained more personal details that I do not want to share here. But the points were as follows. Jay and Pete have not been together as long as I feared. It's about 28 months, not since they were teens. Pete truly didn't want me to get hurt and he was the one pushing Jay to be honest with me. Pete is gay, but he dated girls in the past. Neither of us are attracted to each other and we are not together. We are all going to individual and couples and group therapy. Couples are each of us as. Me and Jay need to work out our marriage and emotions. Pete and Jay need to work out the secrecy and talk through their own relationship, and Pete and I want to work on working together. Something I should have mentioned but didn't due to the fact I knew how Reddit would react, is I'm asexual. I am not in any way sexually attracted to my husband, or anyone for that matter. However, I choose to have sex with him as I know he enjoys it. I still have a libido, I just don't feel the need to have sex. When I have sex with Jay, rarely, once every 2-ish month, it isn't a chore but more a more intimate cuddle. Jay knows this and has known this our entire marriage. In fact, he was the one who helped me figure out I was asexual. If this is hard for you to understand, remember attraction choices. Asophobes will be blocked with no reply, honest questions can be answered. So yeah, that's my story. I can take further questions in the comments. TLDR, we separated, cried, got back together, are happy, I got a promotion and we are all in therapy together and individually. Relevant comments. Comment 1, sorry I'm a bit confused. Are you guys a throuple minus the sex? Or did you get back together with Jay and accept he has sex with Pete? Also, does that mean you now don't have to have sex with Jay out of obligation anymore, because he's getting his needs met by Pete? OP, me and Pete are not together. I don't know if I will have sex with Jay again, it's something I'm working on in therapy. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you. My husband and I are on the brink of divorce, and we are desperately seeking advice. Can our marriage be saved? Throwaway account due to friends' family following the main account, omitting some personal information for sake of anonymity. I'm going to try and make a timeline of events in our relationship for context. TLDR at bottom. Met when we were 9, started dating at 12, mind you this was that middle school type of dating. He cheated on me when we were 15 or 16, at this point we were on again, off again, which continued until we were 17. I got a full ride to a university across the country for athletics and academics when I was 18. My first and only semester there, I hated. I hated the team and the coaches and I had no friends. He flew out to visit me and we got engaged at 18 years old. He flew back a little over a month later and we had a courthouse wedding. I came home after the semester finished. He was 18 and I was 19 when he joined a very difficult prestigious branch of the military. He left for 3 months for training, which was difficult but we did fine. He came back for a few weeks and then left for a few more months for school for his particular job. During this time, I would later find out, he signed himself up on Bumble, and paid $50+ in upgrades for more swipes. He insists he never met anyone from it and no conversations that he had were ever anything more than introductions. He also, again, I would later find out a few years later, spent over $600 at a strip club. He says he was pressured by seniors to go and ended up paying for a VIP room, for one of his buddies because he got the room and then didn't have the money to pay for it and my husband said his friend was going to get into trouble. That weekend, he would go up and down the coast going to various clubs and another strip club from what I've gathered. At 19, we moved states and got our first house together. At 20, he deployed. This would be a very difficult time in our lives, and even more difficult after he got home. He developed a pornography addiction while deployed. I remember sitting on the bathroom floor at 4 in the morning refreshing one of his social media accounts, which I could see his following numbers go up about every 5 minutes. All porn accounts. He pressured me for pictures and videos and I would feel guilty for not doing the things he wanted and I felt like if I didn't he was just going to find someone else to do it for him. He came home 6 months later and we were okay. Except I noticed after a few weeks that as soon as he came home from work he would practically beeline it to the bathroom and shower for 45+ minutes. Sometimes I would even go into the bathroom after and I could tell he dropped the bottle of lube on the ground and it was still slippery. Or I could see the ring on the counter from the bottom of the bottle. I did my best to ignore it, until one day I saw a charge on our account for $30 to someone with a very interesting name. I confronted him and he immediately looked away, took a deep breath, brushed his hand through his hair and sputtered out a quick excuse that it was his buddy's wife who bought them all lunch during work. I don't know why but I said okay and left it at that. He got up a few minutes later saying he felt sick and went to lay down. I got a text from him an hour later saying he was sorry and that he developed a pornography addiction over deployment and he sent money to a girl for her premium Snapchat or something. He says he felt so guilty he didn't even look at anything and he deleted her right after he sent the money. I realized that the day this transaction took place, he had bought me flowers. He has never done that before, not even on any special occasions. From here on the dates get confusing for me. I don't remember what happened first or when or how far apart, but I'll do my best to include as much information as I remember. Sometime later, maybe weeks, maybe months, I woke up to a message from an old acquaintance on a certain social media site. I think we were still 20 or maybe 21. I don't remember what exactly she said, something along the lines of, "I just wanted you to know Hex said this to me." Or something like that. He had messaged her the night prior, whilst drinking at a friend's house down the road, that he loved and missed her. I wish so badly I could remember more, but for some reason I can't. I know she said something like, "You can't be saying that you're married." And he said something along the lines of, "I don't care." I screamed at him to wake up, but he was still drunk. I told him I wanted a divorce. I locked myself in the bathroom and hurt myself because I wanted to feel anything other than how I felt at that moment. I don't know how much time passed. When he opened the door, he said he didn't send those messages. He said that he left his phone plugged into the speaker and his friend was using it to play music. He said his friend must have seen the girl's story and messaged her trying to get nudes. He even pulled out his phone with proof, a text conversation between him and his friend confirming that the friend had messaged her and said he was sorry. I don't know why, but I believed him immediately. I remember having the most euphoric feeling of, I don't know what the word is, but whatever you feel when you let out a breath you've been holding and say, "Oh, thank God." I'm getting frustrated writing this because I'm realizing how much I'm forgetting and I feel like I'm missing something. At 21 I think, shit hit the fan. I think at this point I had gone through his phone several times and found internet history and links that he had clicked through one of his social media accounts to hundreds of different OnlyFans sites. One night I went through his entire dollar account history since 2018 and found the charge for the strip club and Bumble. He said the Bumble charge wasn't him, it was a senior who used his card because he had gotten frozen or something ridiculous like that. I of course believed him. I don't know why. I can't remember at what point I found out that he lied about messaging the girl on social media. I think it was after I had looked through his phone again and I found text messages between him and his friend that was the one who allegedly sent the messages. His friend said something like, "Bro, I can't even go to parties that your wife is at because she hates me lol," or something like that. But they both confirmed what I didn't want to believe. My husband had taken my phone, deleted the messages sent to me by the girl, and got his friend in on this elaborate story. I can't remember when I found out that he did in fact download and pay for upgrades on Bumble. I think I just knew at this point he was lying, and grilled him long enough that he relented. He said he never met anyone or anything, and he said during the conversation, "I only paid for the upgrade because no one would ever swipe for me." Or something like that. I can't remember at what point we went to legal on base and got information to file for divorce. I'd never seen him cry before besides one other time. After we got married, at the airport, he cried so hard and he wouldn't let me see. Just hugged me and buried my face in his chest so I wouldn't see. He said he didn't want to leave. But he cried constantly after I told him this was it and that I had an appointment and paperwork filled out to file for divorce. I'd never seen him like this before. Constantly saying he was sorry, deleting every social media account he'd ever owned. Crying at the drop of a pin. Saying things like he will never marry again, I could have everything in our savings, he'd pay for me to finish college if that's what I wanted. I relented and we went to marriage counseling. He stepped up a lot. He was never on his phone anymore. Would keep his phone unlocked and face up on the table. Told me I could go through it any time I asked. Promised to stop watching porn. He even started cleaning the house and making dinner before I got home from work. He stopped drinking with his friends. It was a complete 180. For a while. The issues started to arise when every little thing would trigger a panic attack. He couldn't hang out with his friends without me freaking out. He began drinking with his friends again maybe a few weeks later. One night he wasn't home by the time he told me he would be and I just broke. I ended up in the hospital and it was just the start of this toxic cycle. He would do something that would trigger me. Whether it be drinking with his friends or the occasional YouTube short I would see in his watch history of a half-naked woman with her tits out and bouncing up and down. I would scream at him and berate him and degrade him because I wanted him to feel exactly how I felt. I think marriage counseling eventually helped a lot. After the hospital I finally got my own therapist. She was my best friend. I still text her to this day. I didn't have any friends where we lived. He worked with his friends every day and every weekend they would all party. I didn't have anyone. My friends and family were back home. I'm shy and have really bad social anxiety and have always had trouble making friends because I can't seem to ever open my mouth when there's more than 3 people in the room. Whenever he would leave to go anywhere, I felt so alone. I think at 22 our marriage really started improving again. We went on vacation together and were able to work through a lot of issues, and we were able to communicate things we were feeling, and it was amazing. We both felt so heard, and we were able to find happy mediums on issues and relayed boundaries that each of us respected. I was 23 when I moved home a few months before his contract ended. He tied up his loose ends on the house and work, and he moved back home with me. He tried working a night shift blue-collar job, making good money, even more than he made in the military. But he hated it. He hated everything about it. He missed his friends and his job. His friends were his family. This was the first time I'd ever seen him truly depressed. 5 months later he joined a different branch of the military. I didn't want him to. I wanted him to stay and have a normal life with me. I wanted to work normal jobs and have a family. He doesn't. He said he doesn't even want a family. I had started nursing school, and my best friend, whom I hardly ever got to see, had a baby. I finally had a group of friends and family I was able to hang out with every week. He left and got stationed in a different state, but only about 600 miles away this time. Far, but drivable. He came home for a visit after only a week of being there. We were doing good at this point, texting and calling a lot. A little over a month ago he left to go across the country for a 6-week exercise in the desert. He didn't have his phone for most of it, but he was able to text me once over a week ago. He didn't text again after that, until I messaged him letting him know that a pet of mine had died. He replied immediately. I've realized that he has had his phone, but just hasn't been talking to me. Yesterday, he texted me in the morning letting me know that he was going to spend an upcoming holiday with an old military friend from his previous branch, and then the holiday after that he wanted to go see his extended family in a different state. We've talked a lot since then, not about anything good. I've asked why he's pushing me away, and he said he's focusing on his goals. I said I felt like I was being put on the back burner until he was ready to acknowledge me and our marriage, and I tried to tell him he didn't have to be alone and that I would support him. He said, "You can't though. You say you can, but you didn't support college or the CIA, so I kinda felt I should just do this alone and get rid of some of the negativity." And I realized he was right. He brought up college when we were about 21, maybe 22, and I actually scoffed at him because I didn't realize he was being serious. I didn't believe he could do something like that. He barely graduated high school. He went to 4 different high schools total, never getting above a 1.5 GPA. I tried doing his homework to keep him afloat, but he didn't care. I even got him enrolled in the same online academy that I attended, due to public school not fitting around my athletic schedule, and I had to do every class and every assignment for him because he would never do them. He ended up graduating from what you would call an alternative high school. After telling me he wanted to go to college, he then told me he was going to join the CIA. This was just unfathomable to me. I didn't know what to do because he wanted my support, but I also didn't want to lie to him and tell him I believed in him. I guess I still don't. And I feel awful, and I can't imagine the feeling of your spouse not supporting you unconditionally. I don't know how to support him in something I just don't think he can do. And now we're here. Neither of us want a divorce. Both of us know our relationship hasn't been the best. We both don't know what to do. I would feel so lost and empty without him. I've known him for more than half of my life. Our personalities are formed around each other. We talk the same, we have the same mannerisms. We experienced growing up together and becoming adults together. I just want to add that these experiences I've listed were the worst times. We've had amazing experiences together. We have so much fucking fun together. He makes me laugh more than anyone else can. He knows everything about me and has been there for every important moment in my life. I'm absolutely terrified of the future. I'm scared to tell my family if we get a divorce. I don't want to be another statistic. I know we got married young. I know we are a military family. I know that most of these marriages ended in divorce, but I really fucking thought we were different. I don't want to start over. I'm almost 24 and I know that's still considered young, but I've known him for 14 years. I thought we would have started thinking about having a family together by now. He just wants to focus on his career and says he doesn't think he even wants a family. I don't know what to do anymore. If you're still here, thanks for reading. I apologize if I'm all over the place. I haven't ever shared all this with anyone. I'm embarrassed of my situation and feel at a loss at what to do anymore. I'm really nervous to read any replies because I think I know what they're all going to say. TLDR, married young, he's in the military, history of infidelity on his part, verbal abuse on my part, and lack of support. Have had successful marriage counseling in the past, but we're at the point where we feel like we want different things, but both of us still love each other and don't want a divorce. Neither of us know what to do. Update 1. After over 1,000 people castigating me in the comment section, I wanted to sort of give an update and answer a few questions. First off, yes, I can in fact type like a motherfucker. I had every intention of creating this post with anonymity, which obviously went down the drain as soon as I started typing. I didn't think this would get more than a couple thousand views and a handful of comments. I typed out every ignominious detail because I needed to see for myself everything in one spot. Someone said I must be exhausting to be around if I tell my friends and family all this. Well, you'll be happy to know that no one knows. I have never told any of my friends and family even a percentage of what has happened. That's why I ended up writing an epic. I wanted someone to know everything and tell me what to do because my brain has become this convoluted, the rose-colored type of convoluted, mess of, I don't even know. I have made my husband out to be this strong, loving, endearing, charismatic provider. And I know why. I've spent my entire life wanting to be the fucking best at everything. My dad's favorite thing he used to say to me every day after practice was second place is just the first loser. And I fucking held on to that. I was the best. I was the best at school. I ranked #1 out of my high school class of over 700 people. I have hundreds of medals and trophies. I did take second place at nationals one year, even though that doesn't feel like an accomplishment to me. I know it should be. But after dropping out of college and leaving behind a full-ride athletic and academic scholarship, I wanted it to be worth something. I never told anyone I left because I hated it and couldn't deal with it. I told everyone I got married and he joined the Marine Corps and I wanted to support him. I didn't want anyone to realize that I couldn't hack it. I wanted it to be worth it. And if I had marriage problems or if I got divorced, it would have just been for nothing. I would have lost again. And I can't lose. I grew up hiding in my closet hearing my dad scream at the top of his lungs at my older siblings because they averaged C's and D's in school. I knew what losing would get you. And I would not lose. My mom cheated on my dad when I was a kid. I remember waking up one morning to them screaming on the front lawn, my mom trying to get into her car to go to work and my dad grabbed her arm and ripped her out of the car. They don't know that I saw that. They worked through it, if that's what you want to call it. I thought that was what you were supposed to do. I thought that marriage was supposed to be hard and you were supposed to put every ounce of yourself into fixing your ups and downs. Many have asked if I want to live the rest of my life like this. Of course I don't. Who the fuck would want that? Why did I stay even after the first time? Well, starving people will eat anything. I have actually read every single comment, even the hurtful ones. God damn, you guys are fucking assholes, and I needed it. I fucking needed over 1,000 people telling me I'm a blind idiot to realize that marriage isn't supposed to be like this. And that I deserve better. Because I fucking do. I do fucking deserve better. And for all those saying I'm not going to leave because I haven't yet. I will fucking prove you wrong. I'm not going back anymore. I'm not going to fucking settle. I had heard the phrase sunk cost fallacy, but I didn't know what it meant. I do now. Thank you to everyone. Even the ones who believe this post was a creative writing assignment. It gave me a laugh realizing that my life and my marriage has been so bad, that it's unbelievable. Last side note, yes, I did comment with my main account a few times. It doesn't even matter anymore. And feel free to shoot me a message and tell me I got this, because I'm going to fucking need it. I feel like I've been rug pulled near the edge of a cliff and I can't find my footing. I don't know where the ground is and when it will come. But I know wherever I land it will be better than where I am currently. Update 2. Hi everyone, it's been almost a year. I can't believe it's been almost an entire year. I don't think I've ever made an update like this before, so hopefully I do it right and it's not removed. I meant to update sooner, I really did. But I have been busy living my life to the fullest extent possible. I can honestly say I didn't even think it was possible to enjoy life this much. I have never experienced happiness like this. I'm honestly having a hard time putting it into words how amazing my life has become. I filed for divorce probably within 48 hours of making that post. Papers were signed a month later, divorce was finalized 2 months after that. It was completely uncontested, we shared no assets, no children, thank God. It was actually a lot easier than I expected it to be. Honestly, the hardest part was telling my family, especially my mom. Everyone loved him so much because I, unfortunately, made him out to be so perfect. It was pretty much a slap to the face for her to find out. I felt awful. She cried for days. But she was so supportive of me. Everyone was so damn supportive of me. I turned 25 soon. I decided to get my nurse practitioner's license. So that's the track I'm on right now. I've made an incredible amount of friends this year. If I'm not working, I'm out having fun. I'm always doing something fun every day. I'll try to reply to any comments, but I'm so busy these days. I have truly begun to find myself. And I'm fucking awesome. I am capable of so much. And I am brave. I am so brave. I did make one special friend from my original post, Bethany200300. Thanks to you and my best friend Katie, if you guys are reading this. Thank you for keeping me accountable and loving me unconditionally. I really didn't realize what a horrendous situation I was in. At least, not until after I made that initial post and received so many eye-opening comments. Lots of people were right though. I did already know the answer to my question. It's actually kind of weird thinking about it. It doesn't even feel real. Whenever I try to think about my life over the last couple of years, I can hardly remember anything. It's almost like I'm trying to recall a story that someone else told me. Anything that I do remember, I recall almost like I was a spectator, or an invisible third person in the room. And I just think this poor girl and what she's going through, I can't even imagine how awful. It just doesn't even feel like it was me. My real life started as soon as he was gone. We don't speak anymore. We haven't really spoken much since December. One of the last interactions we had, he was upset about the divorce and regretted it, and then he proceeded to threaten that he would murder anybody that I dated in the future. Yes, it's documented to the best of my ability. I don't think he would ever actually do anything like that. He hasn't even been back in the state this year. I think he's too busy. Last I heard through the grapevine, he got drunk, had a one-night stand and got some girl pregnant. She wants to keep the baby. He doesn't. I think she even took a brick to his car and smashed the shit out of it. If I could give him one last piece of advice, it would be to start a savings account for this poor kid's future therapy bills. And to ask him if he ever realized that almost all of his monumental life mistakes have been committed under the influence of alcohol. But alas, it isn't my problem. He will never hear from me again. And I can say that with complete happiness and confidence. To everyone who said I wouldn't do it and that I wasn't capable of leaving, fuck you and thank you. I did leave. I didn't walk, I ran. I fucking sprinted. And I didn't look back. Thank you, Reddit, for helping me save my life. To anyone who may be going through something similar. You can do it, I believe in you. If I can do it, you can too. The other side is brighter than you could ever imagine.
Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.